Hey, what is going on guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the different Gangplank builds that are going around right now. So there are a few different builds that people are using, being like the crit build and being the armor pen build. And I'm gonna go over in this video which build is better for different situations. So with that being said guys, let's get started. So first up, let's take a look at the crit build here. Now this build is the one that I do like to run in most of my games on Gangplank. It is a really good build for when the enemy team does have more of a tankier comp. The reason being is because crit chance does scale a lot better if the enemy team does have tanky champions as opposed to armor pen. Armor pen isn't the best against champions that are going to stack a load of armor. For example, if the enemy team does have like a tankier comp, say they've got like a Malphite top lane and he's just gonna stack armor, he's gonna have like 300 or 400 armor, then buying armor pen against him really isn't going to do a whole lot, because let's say you have your Yomus, you have the Dustblade, and then you also have the Maw. You're gonna get 40 armor pen from those items, but if a Malphite has 300 armor and you're minusing 40 armor from that, which drops it down to 260, you're really not getting a whole lot of a percent increase in damage there. Whereas if you're building armor pen against squishy champions, let's say like an enemy 80 carry is going to have around 80 base armor at level 18, and they're gonna have some armor from their runes as well, so it'll be around 90. But if you do have like your 3 core armor pen items and you also have some armor pen from your runes, then you should have around like 50 armor pen, and you're gonna be able to like half the enemy's armor or the enemy squishy champion's armor, because they're gonna have 90, you're gonna have 52 armor pen, so their armor is going to drop to around like 40, which is basically like increasing your damage by half. So that's why you do want to go for this build against squishier champions, because you're basically gonna be dealing like near to true damage against the squishy targets, whereas against the tanks it's really not going to be a whole lot, or it's really not going to be very effective. So I would take this armor pen build if the enemy team does have like pretty much no tanks. If the enemy team does have like one tanky top laner and a tanky support though, then I would go for this next build here, which is going to be probably the most well-rounded build. It does have some good armor pen in it with the Yomus and as well as the Lord Dominics, and it also does have some crit chance with the Infinity Edge and the Phantom Dancer. I think that this build is probably the best right now, and a lot of people are still going for that like full armor pen build even if the enemy team is really tanky, which I don't completely understand, because this build does not scale very well into the late game. It's more of a mid game oriented build, and you want to be building this like if either number one you get ahead in the early game, or number two the enemy team does have a lot of squishy champions, because come late game you're gonna have like 0 crit from this, and your barrels aren't gonna do a whole lot of damage if the enemies are stacking a lot of armor. So overall guys, I do prefer the crit build over the armor pen build. A lot of the pro players right now are going for pretty much the armor pen build every single game, which I'm kind of confused about, because I feel like come late game the crit build just outscales that armor pen build like really heavily. The armor pen build is very good in the early to mid game, but come late game it's really not going to do a whole lot of damage once the enemy team does start stacking armor. If you do get ahead as Gangplank in the early game, or you're confident that you can end the game before the 30-minute point, then I would go for the armor pen build. Or if the enemy team does have like a full squishy team comp, then I'd go for that armor pen build. But if the enemy team does have like a few tanks and it looks like the game is going to go on for a pretty long time, then I would end up going for the crit build or go for the hybrid build. I think that the hybrid build is probably your best bet that you can go with right now, because it does give you a good mix of the armor pen as well as some crit. So that is going to be all for this video guys. Hopefully you did find it helpful in some way. I wanted to make this video because Gangplank is like one of the most picked top laners and mid laners this patch, and he's a really strong pick right now. So if you have not picked him up yet, then I would definitely recommend like at least giving him a shot, trying to get his barrel combos down and trying to learn him a little bit, because a good Gangplank player can just carry extremely hard. So thanks for watching guys. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.